In this lesson, we're going to look at some of the really cool built-in methods within JavaScript. So I've cleaned up some of this code that we were using in the previous lesson. I still have my two fields here. I still have my two buttons. I still have my output area. And I still have all of these document get element by IDs. So I'm still selecting all the elements. And I've just hooked up button 1 to my fun, button 2 to my fun 2. So we're all ready to go with adding in some mathematical calculations. So math within JavaScript, so this is a built-in method, and just show you what's going to happen here. So if we output inner HTML, we can output some math, and so this has a whole bunch of properties that are available within it. So I can do something like rounding up a number. So let's just try to round up whatever value we have for A. And just show you how this is going to work. So let's refresh it and give an A some decimal value there. When we click it, we see that we get it rounded to 6. So it doesn't matter how many additional decimal point numbers there, we see that it automatically rounds to that default number. So in order, we have some other options for rounding as well. So you might not necessarily want to round it down, maybe you want to round it up. So instead of 6.6, when we round it up where we get the ceiling, we get a value of 6 as well. So actually, this should be actually rounding up, and I believe because we're parsing the integer there, so we're not actually getting the right value. So even if we had a 6.3, and if I refresh it and if I click it, we should round up to 7. And that's the way that rounding up ceiling, that allows us to round up to the nearest full integer. And the opposite of ceiling, so we can also round to floor. So even if this was 6.8, just show you what happens there when we refresh it and click it, it rounds it down to 6. We also have a really neat built-in method called random. So I'm going to get rid of the values in there and just show you what happens when I do random. So essentially what this is giving us is a random number from 0 to 1, and in order to make use of this, so if I wanted to do something like get a number from 0 to 1000, now we can see that we're getting these numbers, and all we have to do is we can either just do a round and see what happens now. Or this should actually be math round, so that we get that full method in place there. So now we get these rounded full numbers, random anywhere from 0 to 1000. And of course we can, if we round down, or we can round up. So if we round it down to the floor, so what's going to happen now, instead of rounding it to the nearest number, it's going to give us the floor of it. So this is going to give us 0 to 999. And of course, all the numbers in between. And if we do ceiling, this will give us 1 to 1000. So those are going to be the differences when it comes to math round. So let's take a look at function number 2 here, and we're actually going to utilize the value of A. And maybe we can pick a random number from 0 to whatever number we've entered into A. So let's just take a quick look at how we can do that. So output inner HTML, and we're going to use math random. And then what we need to do is multiply it by the value of A. So that will give us that random number, and then maybe what we'll do is we'll use ceiling. So I got to include that math once again in order to activate that method. So math, ceiling, and let's check this out and see what happens now. So now we get a number anywhere from 1 to 6. We see that we don't hit 0 anytime there. I can update this, and now I can get much larger numbers. And essentially, that's how math works, and it's very useful, especially with the ability to create random numbers when you're doing some dynamic functionality within JavaScript. It's always good to have ability to create something randomly. In the next lesson, we're going to look at date and how to pull out date using the date method in JavaScript. So that's coming up in the next lesson.